Okay, so good morning. And today for our final wellness meet of the year, we're sort of talking about how we can stay calm and present and keep our sanity in this really busy time. I had a sense of this was the message that I wanted to share. This was what I wanted to talk about this month, but I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do it. And then I guess about a week and a half ago, there was a talk by one of my favorite meditation teachers. Her name is Tara Brach, Tarabrach. And so she gave this talk called Preparing Our Hearts for the Holidays. And so I wanted to say her name and the name of the talk because I kind of borrowed some of the elements from, she had this hour-long talk webinar that she did on YouTube. And so it's on YouTube if you want to find it and you can hear the whole thing. But I think some of what I gathered from it, I took some pieces from it for this talk today. So to kind of set the foundation of the talk, just kind of wondering if this is your experience that during the holidays, during the end of the year, we get the sense of like the busies, things speed up, so much is happening. There are so many extra expectations. Our kids are coming out of school. We have possibly more demands on our time. It can be a really busy year for people at work and personally and with family. Maybe we're traveling, maybe we're getting together, maybe we're preparing for this transition from the end of this year to the beginning of another year. And so it's a big transition time. It's really busy. And if you're celebrating, some of the major holidays, then there are, of course, family gatherings and gifts and all kinds of extra demands on you, and also expectations on yourself that maybe you don't have during other times of the year, expectations on others, expectations on events. And so it's a really, it's a busy time and definitely a time that we kind of get in our head a little bit more. So we always sort of prepare for the future or process the past with stories, with our own mental stories, stories that come from our own thoughts and our own beliefs and that are real to us, but maybe not reflective of a reality outside of us, if that makes sense. Just kind of these stories we tell ourselves that come from a place inside that is maybe insecure or maybe unsure or maybe nervous. And so these stories, they can kind of pop up and they can kind of build, and it can become even more prevalent in our lives at this time of year. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Like, where did the idea come from that things get so busy this time of year? During the holidays, we're so busy, we're doing things, we're going out, we're collecting things, we're giving things. So where did this idea come from that everything has to speed up? And where along the line, like in our lives, if we have if we're in that trap, if we're there, when did we adopt that belief that we needed to speed up, that we needed to do more, that this time of year is so much busier than other times of year? Kind of like, where did we say, oh yeah, I'm gonna grab that belief and that's my belief now too. That's a true thing. Where did that come from? And what about our expectations? What expectations do we have? What expectations do we have about the holiday or the event or family interactions or who we are at this time of year, what our house looks like? And if you are engaging in one of these popular holidays that are happening right now, what about the event itself? What about the day? Are we having expectations about our food or our gifts or just us and our families and how we'll be received? And so that's kind of the introduction here, like just really laying out all the stuff that's going on in our minds and our hearts right now. And then this is the invitation, the invitation for you. The invitation is, um, can you choose to focus on your own heart right now? Can you shift the focus from doing and external to an internal focus? Can we bring our focus inward and really think about relationships and the sacredness of our relationship with our family, with our friends, with ourself, our relationship to our own attachments, to our own desires, to things that we are even trying to push away. For me, I mean, this holiday isn't the first one, but I lost a family member last year, and even though I had a holiday without her, I still, this year it feels just as heavy as it did last year. Things are changing. The matriarch of my family is not present anymore, and so gatherings feel different, and also things change as we get older, as things change in general, maybe not in a negative way, but certainly with loss or grief or separation. The holidays and what they mean to us, they change. And so sometimes we push what we perceive to be negative away, right? And so what's our relationship with our desire and our attachments, but also with what we're trying to push away? And so can we bring our focus inward for at least just a little while to just check in and see where we're at, so that we can move through the world with more presence, move through these really busy days with more presence. And so, excuse me. So going back to those stories. So what are the stories that we create about this holiday experience? Are we preparing for possible tension between someone at a family event or somewhere that we're going? Are we, preparing ourselves for possible conflict? Are we preparing ourselves for this feeling of loss or change or grief? Are we expecting this really joyful experience? And so are we getting our hopes up? Are we putting a lot of emphasis on how we want things to look or how we want our food to taste? Or are we already anxious about how we'll be received by family that we're visiting that we don't see very often, or our friends or our children? Are we feeling anxious about how they'll receive our gifts? Or what are the stories that you're telling yourself about the holiday? What are you bracing for? What are you preparing for? What are you hoping for? Are you creating stories about the other people, either being with people and what that might entail, or being alone and what that might entail, and the feelings and beliefs that come up about either being with or without people? So Tara Brach has this really, her phrase for the stories that we tell ourselves is trance. She calls it trance. When we are living in a place where we have these mental stories and we're operating in our life, we're responding and reacting to people from that place of, this is my story. And while it's a belief and a thought that you're having, it may not be fully based in reality. Right. And so when we move from that place, she refers to it as us being in trance. And so these stories and this kind of idea of being in trance, it comes from a place of, we have needs that aren't being met. So we're feeling insecure. So we have this need for safety and belonging and acceptance, or we're feeling angry or scared, or we're feeling grief, right? And so that is kind of the space that like trance is born, where we're feeling something inside of us that is coming from a really strong unmet need. And when we live in that place, when we embody that sense of trance, we sort of we shrink. We become less fully ourselves, because and then we start to move through our interactions and through our days and our weeks with this with a sense of reactivity, and we close our hearts. And but what I mean by that is we kind of shut ourselves off from our own innate goodness, because the trance is also, it's also judging, it's judgment, right? And so we're judging ourselves, or um, we're feeling harshly towards ourselves or others. And so it kind of blocks our ability to see the goodness in ourselves and to see the goodness in others. And we become just kind of less than what we are when we're present and our heart is open. Does that, if that makes sense? So like, what are the needs that you have? What if you are telling yourself stories about, bracing against possible conflict, or worried that your gifts, your food, your space may or may not be received well, or feeling grief about the holidays different than holidays past, or maybe not what you want, or even just simply like financial stress, worried about the obligations that we have. I was talking to a friend, and she's like, so I got to get a gift for like all my kids' teachers. I got to get a gift for like all the kids on my daughter's dance team. I got to get a gift for, and so she's like, when did it become so cool to just, we do things for everybody? And so she's feeling super overwhelmed because, instead of her children and her spouse and her parents and her siblings, she's getting gifts for people that she barely knows, right? And so it becomes stressful. We just kind of expect ourselves to do things. And really, like, this time is a time of reflection and going inward. The days are short, right? And the holidays are just about, well, they could be just about being with ourselves, and again, like, focusing on the sacredness of our relationships, our relationship to ourselves, our family, to our community. And so, but we tend to kind of move away from that because there are some hard feelings there, and we tend to just really focus a lot on being busy and productive and giving and doing and really just expecting a lot of output from ourselves right now, when really it might be appropriate to just kind of pull back and to go in. So thinking about that kind of thing. And so what are the stories that you tell yourself, and what are your personal needs? Are you needing to feel a sense of belonging and acceptance? Are you needing to feel calm? Are you looking for some joy? Are you looking for, fill in the blank? What are your personal needs? Where is the space that you're coming from right now? And then how can you meet those needs? So if you're looking for belonging and acceptance, where does that start? Can you think to yourself, hold your hand over your heart perhaps, and just sit and notice your own goodness. Notice what you have to offer. Notice what is beautiful about you. And if you have trouble with that, think about someone who loves you. A child, a spouse, a friend, even your pet. And then see yourself through their eyes. See your genuineness, See your longing to care, to care for and to care about. You're longing to connect. You're longing to just be there, right? And so there's something beautiful about everybody. And if your need is you want to feel joy or you want to feel calm, how can you meet that need? What can you do? Can you engage in hobbies that are joyful to you? Can you watch some comedy? Can you take a walk? Can you be in a quiet, uplifting alone time somehow, like a bath with candles or something? Like what can you do to foster that inside of you so that you can be present when you're interacting with others or when you're busy or when there's an obligation, when there's something expected of you. And it's so what I want you to do is to think about your intention. What is your intention for the holidays? And so setting an intention is really just about the emotional experience. It's not necessarily, it's different from a goal, right? And so your intention is, how do you want to show up this holiday or for the last few weeks of this year? And thinking about when we're in January, when we're sort of past the formal holiday space, when you look back, what will matter to you? What will be important? What do you want to have embodied? What do you want to have experienced? What do you want to have shared with those around you? Thinking about what's truly most important. So just take a moment now, if you want to either sit quietly and think about it, or to jot down some ideas, and just give yourself a moment to think, how do I want to feel when the holidays are over? What matters to me? What do I want to have embodied? What will I be proud about? What will I be grateful for? What will I have appreciated? And so it's just kind of sense whatever comes up. There's nothing right or wrong. Kind of allow your intuition to guide you. I think because of our negativity bias, we tend to really focus on and notice when a negative emotion or a negative thought arises, or when we have a negative interaction with someone. We really notice those. Those are pretty clear. What we don't always notice, because of just the way our brain works, is when that negative feeling passes, or the point in which that negative interaction starts to shift, become more neutral or even positive. We also tend not to notice the moments of genuine joy and goodness that come from ourselves or from others. We tend not to have such a clear memory of what went well. So in addition to this intention that you're setting for yourself, my invitation, I was going to say challenge, but I don't want it to be a challenge. But so my invitation to you is can you be present enough to, like, my kid is smiling, or I'm happy, or my family is singing this song and we're all out of tune, but we're having a great time, or like whatever happens, but can you notice something positive that's happening in the moment, and then just like breathe it in, just allow your mind and your body to like get a snapshot, take what's the phrase, a mental picture of it, right? Click on the camera. Just allow yourself to really capture that moment and what it feels like in the body. So, there's laughter around, people are having a good time, or you're feeling good about yourself. And can you just breathe that in so that you can recall that more easily, so that it is present and upfront in your mind. And then that feeling, hopefully, the remembering of the feeling can invite more of that feeling into your experience, if that makes sense. So the idea is to remember what stories we're telling ourselves, and from where are those stories being born? What are our unmet needs? Are we feeling insecure? Are we feeling nervous? Are we feeling grief? Are we feeling angry? Are we feeling guilty? Is there something that we're asking for forgiveness for? Whatever your experience is, just kind of watch those stories and then remember to try to focus on what's positive and trying to be aware of when these positive moments have arisen, and to just really drink them in. And then another way that you can give yourself kind of some more space around these stories is, and this is also Tara Brach's thing, it's called RAIN. And so it's basically this reflection tool. And so the R in RAIN stands for recognize. Recognize what is coming up. So if you're in the midst of the busies and you're feeling super overwhelmed and frazzled and upset and stressed, just recognize it. I'm feeling overwhelmed because of these obligations or these expectations. I'm feeling too busy, and maybe what I really want is to rest. So just recognize what's coming up. And then the A is to allow it. And so this is the big one. Okay, so at the beginning, when I said that, can you think about your attachments, what you're longing for and desiring, but also what you're pushing away? And so when we're in a space where we're pushing things away, it's got us. We're trapped. We're engaging with it. And so it's, even though we're trying to push it away, it's got us locked. Our minds are locked onto it, right? And so even though it feels, it could feel counterintuitive to think about allowing the feeling, and the allowing of the feeling actually helps us process it and allows it to find a sense of closure rather than pushing it away. So can we just allow whatever we're feeling? Just, I am feeling guilty and I'm feeling grief, right? Maybe that's your experience. Whatever it is, just allowing yourself to feel it and just really open up your heart to it. And it's hard to do that. It's hard to allow ourselves to surrender to suffering. Kate said that in the yoga this morning. Can we just remember that suffering is a part of our experience? And when we push suffering away, we're still trapped by it. And so just allowing the heart to open to the suffering, trying to relax the wall that you're putting up, right? And we put up the walls to protect ourselves. And you're not doing anything wrong, and it's not a bad thing, and it's not a bad place to be in. It's something that we do to protect ourselves. It's human nature. And unfortunately, it also can keep us repeating the pattern, can keep us stuck. And so can we allow the wall to drop? Can we open up to whatever is causing us suffering? So recognize, allow, and then the I is investigate. And so we kind of touched on that. Investigate really is like, how does it feel in the body? How's it showing up? So sometimes when I feel really overwhelmed, I feel really hot and like I don't have enough space in my body, and like I'm too big for my skin. Everything feels really tight and hot and constricted. And so that's how things so that's investigate for me, is how am I feeling it in the body? Am I feeling heavy? Am I feeling tight? How is it showing up for you? Am I nauseous? Do I have a headache? So just investigating how you're physically responding to the emotion or the belief. And then the N is nurture. So how would you soothe a friend? How would you soothe a child? How would you soothe someone that you're taking care of, that you care about, that you love? And so, maybe that is physical. Maybe you touch your own heart and you just tell yourself, whatever I'm feeling is okay. It's okay to feel this way. Or maybe you physically caress yourself. It can feel a little bit strange at first, but it can be really peaceful and nurturing to just touch yourself gently as you might hug or caress someone that you love and care about. Can you seek out an interaction with someone who uplifts you and makes you feel good? Can you journal? Can you be in nature? Can you look at a painting? Can you listen to beautiful music? What can you do to allow yourself to be in the moment that you're in and tell yourself it's okay, and still process it and still move through those feelings? So recognize, allow, investigate, nurture. I really love RAIN. I really love this tool for catching myself when I'm in my head and when I'm when I'm feeling really reactive, is when I'm in my head. So yeah, so that's a great tool. And then thinking about, back to your intentions, what obstacles might there be? What challenges might there be to keeping your intention? So if your intention is to feel really calm and to have calm holiday, what are the obstacles there, right? Societal input of like all the things that need doing, or the emotions of the people that you love kind of affecting you, right? Someone is feeling really anxious and freaked out, and then you're like, I can't breathe all of a sudden, maybe that's extreme, but that's the idea. So what are the challenges? And then if you can quickly, or, or take your time with it, but if you can spend a little bit of time brainstorming what my challenges might be, even if you don't write anything down, it can help you come back to that intention throughout the rest of this year, throughout these next few weeks. It can prepare you for processing and dealing with any of the stressors that are coming in towards you for these during these holidays. So that's the invitation. Just to think about how to start now, thinking about how you want to feel afterwards. What will have mattered to you? What will have been important? What will you have appreciated about the experience of these holidays? And then can you use what you imagine, what you want to feel like, and create your intention now, so that as you move through the holidays, when you come to the other end of it, maybe it'll be a little bit easier to find some joy and some peace, and to create a space for these holidays, a space that will benefit you. and the people that you care about, and allow you to be present and remember your own goodness and the goodness of those around you. Okay, so I'm going to stop recording so that we can chat.